In 1776, Spanish explorers Dominguez and Escalante passed through southern Colorado, witnessing both the ancient Pueblo ruins and the home of the Ute and Dene, also known as Navajo. The Animas River carried the name River of Lost Souls, as legend pointedly claimed it was a hard river to cross. While the Old Spanish Trail served as an early route through the area until the mid-1800s, the indigenous people had their land taken by settlers and miners through a series of treaties, leaving them confined to reservations in southern Colorado and northern Utah. During this period of upheaval and displacement, Isaac Ike Stockton was born in northern Texas on February 9, 1852. He had a little brother named Porter, or Port for short, whom he had to keep an eye on, as Port was always looking for trouble. Ike left his home in search of a better opportunity as news announced that Charles Baker had discovered gold in the San Juan Mountains of Colorado in the spring of 1860. A camp was established at Baker's Park, attracting hordes of miners. However, placer gold recovery techniques proved challenging, leading some to move south to the Animas Valley a year later. This jump-started the town of Animas City, housing farmers, ranchers, cavalry, and infantry. With the outbreak of the Civil War, a large portion of the town's population returned east to fight. However, mining activities surged again in the 1870s with the development of lode mining techniques and significant capital investment for extensive tunneling and ore processing. Large amounts of silver and later even more gold were discovered following the gold rush of 1872, leading to the settlement of mining towns like Silverton. The surrounding areas had developed to supply the mining industry with agricultural products, livestock, timber, and other goods. In September 1880, the Denver and Rio Grande Western Railroad Company chose a site south of Animas City for its depot, discreetly purchasing land to serve the San Juan mining district. The land would be named after Durango, Mexico, in honor of the territorial governor A.C. Hunt, who had traveled through the area and made a similar reference. The name Durango comes from the Spanish Basque word Durango, meaning water town or well-watered place. Durango offered a more tolerable climate and a good supply of water and coal for operating smelters, which extracted precious metals from the ore. The San Juan extension reached the valley the following year as the Durango Trust, a business group composed mainly of DNRG railway investors, decided to bypass Animas City, seeking cheap land from homesteaders. Investors paid $105,000 to start the city. Most businesses relocated to the new town from Animas City, with William Palmer, the leading developer of the Denver and Rio Grande Railroad, aiming to dominate the ore transportation market in the region. Meanwhile, in 1874, Port Stockton found his brother Ike tending a bar in Lincoln County, New Mexico, and while the brothers stayed for 2 years, married, and started families, it wasn't long before Port got drunk and killed someone. Ike crafted a way to free him from jail, but after relocating to Trinidad 2 months later, Port relapsed and shot another over a game of cards. Ike rescued him from the gallows, but for the next 4 years, the family were on the run, back and forth over the New Mexico and Colorado border. Durango was steadily growing. In 1880, William Bell, a friend of William Palmer, bought 160 acres for $500 and donated land for a school and city hall. Palmer also donated land for the city to use, and Palmer initiated the development of a smelting facility in Durango to process ore, leading to the establishment of the New York Smelting Company in 1880. In addition to the smelting works, Palmer and his associates purchased a limestone quarry and several nearby coal mines. Soon, a smelter began operation on Smelter Mountain, drawing business away from the Silverton's economy, partly due to the availability of coal in Durango, known as black diamonds. Durango was dubbed the New City in the Wilderness as it emerged as the hub of the region's rapidly growing economy. With state-of-the-art rail transportation and infrastructure, Durango became the county seat. However, lawlessness was rampant, and at its center was Ike Stockton, who led a gang that included his brother Port, Harg Eskridge, Dyson Eskridge, and Bert Wilkerson, among others. They would rob and rustle cattle between the borders of Colorado and New Mexico. In Farmington, ranchers organized a guard to combat cattle thefts. George Coy, who led his own gang, was involved and suspected of attempting to eliminate rivals for government beef contracts. The borderline feud, called the San Juan County War, gained attention with the lynching of cattle thief William M. Tex Anderson, who was hauled away by vigilante justice. Tensions rose in the spring when Lou Coe's cattle strayed onto a settler's land, leading to a lawsuit. During the trial, special constables forcibly disarmed everyone entering the courtroom, causing a confrontation that George Coy diffused. Later, the Eskridges clashed with another group trying to free prisoners. George Coy had an argument over his cattle, damaging a neighbor's crops, but when the law got involved, the justice was driven out of the county. Both sides forced cattle owners out, C.H. McHenry and Mrs. Mary Hubbard, while some supporters of the Eskridge faction, others were settling personal grudges. In September, Porter murdered a man near Bloomfield and shot another while threatening to kill Alf Graves as he stole cattle. The Coes believed the Stockton gang working in Animas City aimed to eliminate them. During a rival's Christmas party, Dyson Eskridge and his brother-in-law, James W. Garrett, went there to crash it, but when they were asked to leave, they shot up the street, killing several. Garrett claimed that they had been invited, but that no one would dance with them, so they left, whereupon they had to defend themselves from an attack. Vigilantes sought revenge, burning the Eskridge and Garrett homes and seizing their stock. In January of 1881, vigilantes, including Graves, Frank Coe, and others, were searching near Port's cabin for fugitives. Port ran outside with his Winchester cocked, ready for a confrontation, but Graves pumped 5 slugs into Port as his wife, holding another Winchester, was seriously wounded. Eskridge and Garrett fled to Durango, with vigilantes threatening to kill them if they returned. The vigilantes reportedly committed 16 murders by mid-February. 40 people fled to Durango to avoid the conflict, and the newspapers called for the extermination of the Coe gang, whom Ike Stockton blamed for his brother's death and vowed revenge. George Coy, urged by his wife, sold his crops and left the territory in early March. Around the same time, Ike Garrett and others went to Farmington to round up cattle. They encountered Barker and others at Garrett's ranch, leading to a shootout. Barker was killed, and a man named Nance escaped. In mid-March, Nance and John Benning captured Jack Roberts, who had killed Thomas A. Greatorex in Durango. A group from Durango took custody of Roberts, held a makeshift court, and hanged him before he reached the city center. On April 7th, William Lowe, who had killed a man in Farmington and fled to Del Norte, Colorado, was shot dead by J.H. Jackson while attempting to steal Jackson's horse. Ike tried to lie low, working a silver claim of Expectation Mountain with his partners Harge Eskridge and Bert Wilkinson, but Wilkinson killed Comanche Bill in Durango on Christmas night, forcing back their attention. Governor Lew Wallace was called upon for assistance, suggesting a militia. Wallace instructed Adjutant General Max Frost to investigate, report on the situation, and organize 2 militia companies in Farmington and Bloomfield to assist the sheriff in protecting citizens. He also requested Judge L. Bradford Prince to visit the county to expedite indictments. General Edward Hatch ordered Fort Marcy officers to provide arms and an escort to ensure their safe arrival. Frost discovered many dark secrets, including the town of Chama, New Mexico, which was controlled by a desperado named Jim Catron, who fired random shots at him. He also learned that Ike planned to kill Graves, the Coes, and others, while the opposing side offered $2,000 for Ike's capture. A grand jury indicted Ike, Hark Eskridge, Garrett, and others for various crimes as Governor Wallace offered rewards. On April 11th, about 30 Farmington men went to Durango to capture the gang, but found the Vigilance Committee hanging Henry Reed Mormon, a follower of Ike's. The next day, the Stockton party engaged the Farmington posse in a shootout, wounding 2 bystanders. The news portrayed it as 2 towns at war, with the only resolution being that the Stockton gang would need to leave town. The Eskridge brothers initially drew their guns, but with the militia against them, they eventually conceded, albeit after receiving a $700 gift from their supporters. Soon reports of Ike stealing cattle prompted Farmington vigilantes to hire Big Jan Howland, a relative of Dave Rudabaugh and a former Trinidad officer, to investigate. On May 13th, a dispute at Isaac W. Lacey's slaughterhouse near Pagosa Springs led to a confrontation between Lacey and Howland, with Lacey being murdered. Some believed Lacey had dealings with Ike, as he offered a $2,000 reward for Howland's capture. Newspapers suggested the Farmington mob fabricated stories about Ike stealing Lacey's cattle. Ike and Harge Eskridge wrote to Governor Wallace claiming their innocence and offering to surrender if guaranteed protection. However, Eskridge undermined their plea by shooting Jim Kid White on May 14th, after hearing White had been tracking him. As White died a few days later, the Stockton gang split up. Ike's men gathered at Rico, rounding up Eskridge's cattle. Governor Lionel A. Sheldon of New Mexico ordered the Bloomfield militia to be ready. Meanwhile, the Paiutes were defending their land and taking cattle in the Grand River area. Ike and others assisted the ranchers, with Harge Eskridge being seriously wounded. This aid would be celebrated news for the remaining Stockton gang, as Ike distanced himself from those so-called troublemakers who had split with him. Public opinion in Durango was sympathetic, viewing Ike as a quiet, peaceful, and enterprising citizen, though avenging his brother's death had become his life's mission. On August 22nd, Katrin Wilkinson and Black Kid Thomas robbed a saloon keeper near Pinkerton's ranch. 2 days later, Sheriff Luke Hunter, Town Marshal D.C. Ogsbury, and Charles Hodges went to arrest the robbers. Despite Hunter's lack of courage, Clate agreed to help. As they approached the Diamond Saloon, Clate was shot and killed. The 3 outlaws fled, but the Black Kid was later captured and lynched by locals. The belief that Burt Wilkinson was his killer led to a $4,000 reward for his capture. The robbers fled to Needles Mountain. Thomas returned and proclaimed his innocence, but his very ties to the gang were enough for a death sentence. Rewards were posted, and Ike, now a deputy, located Eskridge and Wilkinson near Castle Rock. Ike told Eskridge to hide out while he arrested Wilkinson, earning a substantial reward. Wilkinson was jailed in Silverton and lynched on September 4th, maintaining his composure and clearing Eskridge of involvement in the shooting. Dissatisfied with their sheriff, Durango citizens replaced him with Barney Watson, who quickly sought requisitions for wanted criminals. On September 26th, Ike arrived back in Durango. Watson, then the deputy sheriff, pursued Ike for a past murder in New Mexico. Stockton tried to flee, drawing his revolver, but was shot in the thigh. He was examined by locals who recommended amputation, but Stockton refused until his own physician arrived from Animas City. Messengers struggled to locate Stockton's medic while a crowd gathered, chanting, "Go to hell and face Burt Wilkinson." 6 doctors performed the operation that night, but Ike died early the next morning. He was buried in Animas City. The people of Durango now looked forward to prosperity, and signs of progress began to appear everywhere in the late 1880s. A Cleveland pharmacist named Henry Strader built the Strader Hotel in 1887 after spending $70,000 and using 376,000 native red bricks, as well as hand-carved sandstone cornices and sills. Henry Strader, who had placed his pharmacy in a prominent corner of the hotel, had no intention of managing the property and leased it to proprietor H.L. Rice. Under Rice's management, the Strader Hotel soon became a social hub. Charles Stillwell took the straighter into the new century, where celebrities like Western author Louis L'Amour stayed in room 222 to write his Old West novels. This has been Biographies of the West. My name is Lorin Morgan-Richards. Thanks for watching.